Rock 99X, the Mourning X at a special Live X. Please welcome Billy Corgan.
Am I supposed to start now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Play my favorite sound. Radio, radio, radio. I'm alive. Radio, radio. Please don't go. Radio. Get the curtains on empty street, behind a wall of coloring. No one's out there to hear if I care about the troubles in the air. The morning now, but my thoughts left on, 'cause I hope to die on my own with my radio and my favorite sounds. Radio, 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 don't you know? Radio, please. A blow that just stopped my guitars in the attic with the stars. I read your letters to feel better. My tears upon the fading ink. I love the morning now. My thoughts left on, 'cause I'm home to die on my own. It's my radio plays my favorite sound. Radio, radio, radio. I'm alone. Radio, radio, radio. Please don't go. To
favorite songs from the new record, by the way?
Thank you. Yeah, it's called "I Am the Mourning," and originally it was 2 songs, and then I had to beg Flood to let me put them together. So
There's another song called, I think it's "Raindrops and Sun Showers."
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, thank you. No, I won't be playing that today. I could in a pickle, but
Thanks for doing this.
oh, thank you.
We're all very excited. Does anyone in the audience want to jump up here and ask a question?
You guys have a question for Billy? Run through, trample over the people. Come to the mic, dude.
It's radio.
I'll tell you what, while they come on up, is it more important to you, Billy, to have... I know there have been albums that you've made where, let's say, there was a song that you knew would be a hit, but maybe chose not to put it on because it didn't fit. So is it more important for you to please yourself artistically than put something on that you think will commercially be accepted?
Well, there seems to be 2 ways to look at it. There's the immediacy of the moment, which is what's going on right at this particular moment, which I very much agree with, because rock and roll needs to be exciting like today, not tomorrow or yesterday. But there's also the idea that you can't be such a victim of the time that you're in that you can't be willing to step outside of what's comfortable or popular. Like, I think there's a lot of great bands right now, but my main criticism of a lot of the new bands would be that I don't think they're doing anything particularly original. They've kind of managed to do a very good job of honing down the idea of what exists. But, you know, I remember at the time, like, when we put out Siamese Dream, not a lot of people understood the record. We had songs that kind of became big songs for alternative radio, but in terms of mainstream you know, pop and all that kind of stuff, nobody wanted to play those songs because they were too weird, they were too loud. Now if you look at what's in the charts on mainstream radio, a lot of the heavier songs are getting played. So if we weren't willing to step outside the boundaries of what was going on at the time, then those songs wouldn't be, by a lot of people, be considered classic songs. So it's very difficult because you're constantly at odds with what people are asking of you, which is to be big, sell records, and keep feeding some heavy metal machine, which no one seems to know what the rules are, versus doing what you want to do.
Does it bother you that, like, a lot of modern rock seems to attract fickleness? I mean, you know, what fans like today, you know, for one reason or next, they're not into the next day.
Right.
Does that bother you? Is that frustrating as an artist?
It has at times, but as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate that the audience is basically usually right, at least in the terms of the idea of the immediacy. But the audience is not always right in terms of what is going to survive the test of time. So sometimes, you know, like right now, I think we're dealing very much in immediacy. This album's very much about being exciting right now, not tomorrow. But we have created work that we knew at the time no one was going to understand, but we've been sitting around going, sooner or later they're going to get it. But I believe the audience is right always in terms of the immediacy. The audience is generally attracted to the most exciting things. And as much as people want to browbeat like boy bands and Britney Spears, they generally are right now more exciting than most rock and roll bands. And until rock and roll bands basically wrestle back the excitement,
But they come and go.
which has to do with...
Have you ever sat down and listened to an NSYNC CD just to see what the hell's going on there?
I was kidnapped once and strapped to a chair.
Did you have a question? What's your name?
I'm Brian Hunter. I wanted to thank Billy. I think he is one of the greatest songwriters of all time. And
Thank you, Brian.
thank you for providing us a product to soothe our souls for the last 10 years. And
It's kind of like milk, you know, it's good for the bones.
It is. It's been great for my bones for the last 10 years. And I just wanted to, back in the 60s and 70s, the bands were, they seemed to come together and do a lot of things together. We did Lollapaloozas and things like that, but it doesn't seem to be quite what it was in the 60s and 70s. Do you have any ideas, like, you know, early bands of the 90s, you know, the breaking up, people getting killed and suicide, things like that, you know?
Well, unfortunately, I think that, you know, a lot of what went on in the late 60s and the early 70s, particularly in rock and roll, was a counter-manifestation of what was going on in the country. As you know, the hippies and the rock and rollers saw unrest in the country, they kind of formed together because they were the counterculture. Well, alternative music really isn't the counterculture anymore. It's been bought and sold, and it's really up to the artists to kind of look beyond the egoism of what they can plug into at the moment. And there's a lot of money, there's a lot of kind of immediate fame, but I think the saddest legacy of what's gone on, I'd say, over the past 10 or 12 years is, despite the explosion of alternative music to an acceptable kind of art form, if you can use that word, it's basically, it's lost its plot. You know, there's not a lot of integrity in it anymore, and no one seems to even be standing up for the integrity. I know I'm basically beaten down on the whole issue. I've just thrown my hands up in the air because, you know, I don't want to be a single soldier in a war that no one cares to fight. So, I agree with you, but I think it's also a product of the times. I mean, we're living in very comfortable economic times. Everybody's got a computer, basically, you know. Everyone's made to feel important. MTV makes you feel like you're a star. The internet tells you you're a star. Then you're a star, you know, and that's it.
Well, thank you, and don't give up, please.
By the way, his hair is like that because a select number of people here to get tickets to today, Billy, shaved their head. Some of the other guys in the
I recommend it for beauty.
Well, some of the other guys that you see are bald are just that way because that's how God made them. So, you want to do another question, Barnes?
Should we do another one if you want?
He's ready to play.
Yeah, a little louder there, team. Okay, this is another new song called Age of Innocence, which was the last song I wrote for the record. Not that it makes it any better, it's just... this is the last song.
From our mouth
You're listening to Live X with Billy Corgan on 99X. Hey, Billy, Barnes over here in the corner to your left amidst the candlelight. I have a question. How tough has it been? It sounds weird to say in the late 90s, but in the late 90s, all the turbulence you had to deal with, losing Jimmy, getting him back, now Darcy's out of the band. Does that really disrupt your flow, your creativity? It seems like when you guys were all together, it was really clicking. Not that you're not clicking now, but you have Jimmy back. Does it feel better?
Well, I mean, I like to think I'm a machine impervious to any change, but I'd be lying to say that what's gone on in the band hasn't affected us. But I think if you take it out of the literal context of, you know, there's the star, watch it go, and you just get into 4 people's lives, now including Melissa, 5 people's lives. I mean, our lives are a little extreme, but so is what we've tried to do. And I think that we're human beings, and that's the only way I can explain it.
Does losing someone like Jimmy really, I mean, he's one of the best drummers I've ever seen, and I've played drums for years, and watching him, I mean, I could never even dream of playing that good. To get him back, did it make you realize, wow, he really was a big piece of it?
I mean, again, it's the same thing. There's the literal thing of, I think he's the best drummer in the world, but I forgot the contact and the energy that goes between us and the way he inspires me to try to even do better than I thought I could do. And that's the difference. And it's the same thing. It's like, even with Darcy, it's like we set this super high line of intensity and what we expect from each other. And if anybody falls below the line, then it can't be. So rather than just like keep taking everybody's money and smiling politely, if you can't be above that line, then that's the way it's been. And that would explain Jimmy leaving and coming back, and same thing with Darce. So
Becky has a question.
Hi, Becky.
Hi, I just want to say that it's a complete pleasure to be in the room with you. This is the coolest thing I've ever done.
But this isn't the first time we've been in a room together, Becky.
Well, I wanted to ask, I keep hearing from my fellow Smashing Pumpkins fans that the song Today off Siamese Dream, while you were recording here, that it was inspired by Marietta, Georgia. Is that true?
No. I mean,
Just asking.
Cobb County could give a songwriter a lot to be inspired by.
He knows our city well.
But I did write the song in Chicago, sitting on my bed, when I was living with this hippie named Bob.
Speaking of Chicago, your thoughts on Michael Jordan going to the Washington Wizards in a management position? Because many people don't know, Billy is to the Bulls what Jack Nicholson is to the Lakers.
No, that's not true. I'm a total Fairweather fan.
I'm
totally jumped ship now.
Did you really the minute they all left? Really?
I'm rooting for the Hawks now.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Although it could be a while.
No, wait, who was it that you're close with on the old Bulls team? Was it Scotty or was it Rodman?
Well, I knew most of the guys, at least, in a hello, how you doing kind of way. Rodman I hung a lot with Brian Williams when he was on the team, and that's about it. I mean, being in Rodman's axis is enough to.
What's the wildest thing that you can remember doing with Rodman? And what have you
I don't
seen?
know if the rules are different in the South for the radio, but
there are no rules here. It's total anarchy.
Well,
And
I think being in Las Vegas about 5 a.m. At a craps table and watching him bounce dice off of someone's head because they can't actually throw the dice into the thingy.
What kind of money will a Dennis Rodman have on a craps table at one time?
More than most people would make annually or biannually. But that's how he lives. I mean, he's definitely a live for today kind of person. He plays that way. He is that way. And that's why I respect him.
You want to do another song?
Sure. What am I supposed to do? Or what?
Play that thing and sing a little bit.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna try this one. This is our new single. But if I crash and burn, just everyone yell. Cover up the flames.
Corgan on 99X, live across the world. Got another question from the fan. What's your name, big guy?
My name is Gerald Williams.
Jody, about 7 feet tall?
Just 6'6".
Big dude, 6'6".
First of all, I just wanted a chance to say that your song "To Forgive" from Melancholy is like, that's the best song I've ever heard. I mean, the imagery just moves me every time I hear it. What I wanted to ask you was, when you release a CD or whatever, who determines what's going to a video's going to be made from, what's going to be the single? Is that you, or does someone else do that?
You get a lot of input from a lot of people who supposedly know what they're doing, but generally it's our choice. It's tough though, because like I remember in '95 when we released Melancholy, I wanted to release a different first song off of Melancholy than Bullet with Butterfly Wings. And the record company president at the time, who was a good friend of mine, literally begged me, "You're making a big mistake. You're making a big mistake. Trust me, trust me, trust me." And it turned out to be a really big song. Because at that time, I didn't like the song. I just go through different phases where I don't like certain of my songs. Now I really like it again. But it's just one of those things, So, but yeah, generally, pretty much I would say 95% of what you see from the band is from the band. And believe me, it's not easy, because everybody thinks there's a way to sell records, or a way to be, or a way to play concerts, or do interviews and something. And I don't think most people, you or anybody else here, wants to see something that's packaged and perfect. And I don't think that's what it's about. You either connect with the band or you don't. And so it seems to me that whenever we've gotten away from just being ourselves, we always get ourselves in trouble.
Was there a band that you saw maybe in high school, or maybe your first concert, that just changed your life?
No, I think the impression of rock and roll in my mind, this is pre-video, that's how old I am, or at least right around the time the video started to break. I think it was the impression of what music was. I always imagined everyone was having lots of fun and doing lots of drugs and lots of girls, and it was like, wow, what a life that must be. It must be so exciting. So it was the impression of that. I've definitely seen some mind-blowing concerts in my life, though.
Who was your favorite band, though, in high school?
It's a toss-up between Black Sabbath and Van Halen. Molly Hatchet was a close third.
Hey, Billy, I wanted to personally thank you for coming. I think that the track Mayonnaise on Siamese Dream doesn't even play anymore on my disc. I've killed it so much. But
thank you.
I was just hoping to ask you, given that all the issues and crazy things that happen to rock and roll bands these days, just your reaction, your comments, any feelings that you had on the Darcy situation when she was arrested.
Well, I mean, we definitely have opinions and feelings and tears and stuff like that, but if there's anything we've learned in the past 4 years, it's just to leave our personal lives as much as we can. It's really hard for me, because obviously I imbue my personal life into my music. For the rest of the band members, Darcy still being a pumpkin in an ephemeral sense, it's been very difficult for them to kind of deal with what, rock star life brings. So we just try to pretty much avoid all that. If it was up to us in kind of a perfect world, we would tell everybody everything. We would want everyone to feel that they're our best friend, and we have no secrets, because we don't have any secrets. But you see what, let's not even talk about our situation. You see what the media does to people. Remember that poor guy, Richard Jewell, when they thought, he was the responsible for the bombing down here? They tortured that guy. They ripped that guy apart. And when it was all said and done, what do they say? Sorry? And that's what it's like. They'll rip you apart. And there's nobody there to say sorry in most cases. So, unfortunately, that's the way we have to be nowadays.
Hi, Billy. Thanks for doing this. I'm Rich. Me being a metalhead, by the way, Jelly Billy off of Melancholy is my personal favorite.
There you go. That was the song I wanted to be the first thing.
All right. I've been reading a lot lately about your recent stint with Sharon Osbourne Management, wife of Ozzy Osbourne, and how that ended all awry. What was your take on that situation?
She's just a pig.
Now, how do you really feel, Billy?
What do pigs do but stick their nose in?
What was the final straw for that? What was the final thing that broke the deal?
I would love to go on endlessly about why she's an idiot, but it's the same thing. I think anybody who's paid any attention sees what kind of person that she is, and that's exactly pretty much the root of why the situation didn't work.
How did you end up with her in the first place?
She pretty much presented herself as one kind of person, and then we found out there was another kind of person.
Nice facade. Inside it was different, huh?
Yeah.
Had great ideas for you. It's going to be peachy, and then turned out to be she trying to control you or something.
Again, I really don't want to talk about it, but you're in the right neighborhood.
Good.
Put it this way. I mean, before we ever met her, our album was completed. I think our band sold some like 22 million records worldwide. I don't need somebody to tell me how to be. And if you saw some of the comments where she was complaining about us wearing a dress, she wasn't even smart enough to do enough research to know that we've been wearing dresses all along. Stuff like that. Trying to argue with Ozzy Osbourne's wife about wearing a dress. That's when you enter the surreal and the profane. It's like, bat head biting, good, dress bad.
You want to play another song, Billy?
No, let's talk more about Sharon.
Now he's fired up.
Oh, man. Well, what? I know that you and Courtney Love had some.
You just want to know all the dirt.
Wait a minute. This was a couple years ago and last year. Has that smoothed over since then, or are you guys still kind of estranged?
I don't know what that word means.
Did you iron out any differences that you may have had that came out through the press?
Well, I don't know if you saw. This is not a personal opinion, but immediately after Sharon dismissed herself from our world, there were rumors basically linking Courtney and Sharon, and that was also part of what was going on. Is Sharon, who had told me she would have nothing to do with Courtney, was basically courting Courtney to be part of her management team. So
it's so ugly.
It's rock and roll.
Yeah,
that's it. It's funny. It's supposed to be funny. Stop glaring at me, Susie. One of my friends is giving me dirty looks because I'm not supposed to talk about this stuff.
Seriously, will you do another song for us?
Yeah, please. I'm better at singing than gossiping.
Billy Corgan on Live X. This is 99X.
I can't hear this guitar. Sorry, people of Radio Land.
Smashing Pumpkins album will be in stores on February 29th. Another question for Billy. What's your name?
Hello, I'm Shamim. I'm from Marietta, Georgia. I couldn't really think of I just wanted to come here and talk to you, but I thought of a question while I was standing here. The new album, how do you pronounce that? Machina, what? I don't know how.
I say machina.
Machina?
You say machina.
Machina.
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
I see. What does this mean? Is this English, Latin? What is it?
It's Latin.
Latin. What does it mean? Machines of God.
It means it's like, you know, to penetrate the rock but not be the rock.
How did you think of it?
Did you just make that up?
Yes, I did.
Come on.
How did you think this up? I mean, why Machina?
Where does this come from?
Yeah, where?
It's kind of from the same space that when I was 5, like I just used to make these drawings of like big race cars with men with big teeth. It's from that same spot, you know, the spot that like pays the bills and like gets me on stage. You know?
I'm glad you cleared that up because these heard people on the air the other day going, no, it's machina, machines of grace.
Well, that is how it's pronounced in the Latin pronunciation is machina.
But when the man that wrote it can call it machina.
Well, he wasn't sure what it meant, though.
Doesn't matter.
Hi, Christiana. Going back to the rumor mill, there's a big rumor. I know. There's a rumor saying that this is going to be the last album.
Huh?
There's a rumor saying that this is going to be the last album.
Is it?
It's on the internet.
The internet. There you go.
It was on the internet.
Are you asking me that question? Oh, okay. Well, see, we're not really going to break up because we're convinced the world is going to end. So there'll be no breaking up because there'll be no more bands. You know?
Hey, what's your name?
That answer will be analyzed for about the next month.
Yeah, my name is Harrison from Lilburn, and basically I was just wondering how often you have to shave your head and any special care that goes into that.
Hair tips with Billy Corgan. Skull tips.
Yeah, and I had to shave my head yesterday just to get tickets to this thing. It was worth it, though.
Is that a question, too?
No, that was just a statement.
Oh, okay. Oh, you want me to answer that? Well, actually, I've started meditating, and I will it not to grow. And right now I'm willing yours to no longer grow as well.
Thank you. I love your music, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Hey, Billy, my name is Mark. I flew in from Houston this morning to see the show today.
Excellent.
So happy to be here. Quick question. You've done a lot of work with charity, specifically with the Adore Tour. You've donated all the money to charity. Are you frustrated by not seeing other bands follow your lead?
No. I don't think that it's everybody's gig, you know. It wasn't the easiest thing for us to do on a lot of different levels, but it's something we really wanted to do. I just think that Generation X in particular has gotten a pretty bad rap as kind of a selfish generation. Most of the people I know aren't like that, and I just wanted to kind of make a statement that change is about more of a mentality than anything. That's the way we chose to do it. But I meet lots of people all the time. I volunteer in a hospital, or, you know, I would love to do charity work, but I'm taking care of my grandma. It's the notion, that's all. That's all we were trying to get across over and over again. People focused on the money, and we kept saying the only reason you're here is because of the money, but, you know, so that's how it goes. Thanks, man.
You ever have writer's block? And, like, what's the worst case of writer's block you've ever had where you just couldn't get anything out?
I've only had really bad writer's block one time. That was between the end of the Gish tour and the starting of the recording of Siamese Dream. I had about 8-month block.
And are you able to say, I know this will pass, or at the time do you think, it's over?
Well, I wanted to kill myself at the time because my whole life was invested in the notion that if I can't write a good song, that I'm not worth anything. And I'm sad that that's the kind of person I was at the time, but I know there's a lot of people who feel that if they're not something, then they're not worth anything. when I finally got over that notion and realized that it didn't matter if I wrote a good song, that's when I started writing Today, Disarm, and
I was going to say, if Siamese Dream was a result of your writer's block, maybe you should have another writer's block. I mean, that was a brilliant album.
They're all brilliant.
They are.
There you go.
That one was incredible to come off of writer's block.
So all you young, yeah, for all you young, struggling mental brains, then. Since you're all like kind of in my living room, at least that's how it feels. I thought I'd play you my living room version of Today. Today is the greatest day I've ever known. Oh, you don't like it? I'm an artist. Okay, I'm gonna try this. Get up, don't yell. In the living room, though. This guy did right here. Okay, try one more time. Let's pretend it's the beginning. When I up in the living room, there's no one there to tell me. Okay, I give up. I tried. Thank you, though. I'm too embarrassed to make mistakes in public.
By the way, you did Rock On a little while ago. Do you do that during your shows now? Are you covering that, or are you covering other songs?
We're doing that, and we're doing a Who song called Join Together.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, Rock On has become a favorite of ours. It seems to kind of sum it all up.
Were you a big Who fan growing up?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of all the kind of classic rock bands. And I kind of miss that mentality more than anything, because it just seems like that we've lost. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people here who, were probably, still running around in diapers when we first started picking up guitars. And in that age, there was still the promise that rock and roll could change the world, and being in a band, you could be like the Beatles and make everybody believe that love is all you need and things like that. Now it's like, what's the first week sales, and can you get the video played, and it's sad, and it's like, but it just seems that the era has passed, and we're not bemoaning it, but we just find ourselves in the middle of it.
Yeah, it's really easy to imagine that you'd be a Who fan, or you mentioned earlier Van Halen or any of those bands. Any bands growing up that influenced you that we would be really surprised had a big impact on your music?
The one that people always seem to be most surprised about would be Black Sabbath. And then like a lot of the prog rock bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Rush and things like that.
VH1 just did the 100 greatest rock and roll songs of the century. Number one was Satisfaction from the Stones. Did you happen to watch that? Did you agree? Do you have an opinion on like the greatest rock and roll song ever?
No. Sorry.
What was the first riff you ever learned to play on guitar when you picked up the guitar?
First song I ever learned was House of the Rising Sun by the Animals.
You mentioned Black Sabbath. I thought maybe Paranoid would have been it.
No.
No? That was like the classic cover band song, though, that everyone learned how to play.
Actually, I still don't know how to play that one.
Hi, Billy. My name is Adam. I know as musicians, a lot of times that you're trying to convey an emotion that you feel at the time off to us, and I know you hope that we get that and make that mental connection with you. I felt that, like sort of like Metallica's Black Album, your Adore album was like an emotional high for you, where you actually come almost to like a plane as a musician. And my question is Sheila an actual person, a character of your mind? And if you could tell her about her, tell us about her, or
stuff like that. It's almost like I take pieces from everybody, like in that sort of case, it's an idealized form of love. It's a person we hope to meet, or it's a person that we want to believe in. And I think a lot of sadness in life comes from imposing on our loved ones an ideal which we wouldn't even impose upon ourselves. And it's just that idea that, if you believe enough, something will come true. So, but I take something from everybody. I'm ripping you all off right now. You don't even know it.
I also had the privilege to see you at the Grand Ole Opry at the Acoustic session there, and I want to compliment you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. You want one more song?
Sure.
Okay.
This is Billy Corgan on Live X, 99X Atlanta.
Hold you up to the flame. that I cannot be saved. I still believe 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 that I cannot be saved. Someone will say what is lost can never. Someone will say what is lost can never. Someone will say what is lost can never be saved.
You've been listening to Live X on 99X. Billy, thank you very much. We really appreciate you doing this. Thanks to Billy Corgan, the rest of Smashing Pumpkins. New album out on the 29th. Thanks to Tree Studio. This has been Live X.